So I'm sitting here in my daughter's car. This isn't my styling. And I have to wait for her to get finished with her classes at community college because she's still learning to drive. And I got to thinking about the drive here because I let her drive here. She has her permit. And it was really stressful for both of us. She did her driver's ed before the pandemic, like right before. So she really didn't get to get out and do her driving and do all kinds of things to get her practice hours because of everything that was going on. So we are just trying to do that now. She's almost 18. It is really hitting me what we've done to our kids. I say we, I mean adult humanity. I personally didn't have a say in any of this. If you're watching this, chances are you didn't either, because people don't follow me unless they agree with me, or they do for a very short time, and then, I get hate mail and they're gone. But the impact is going to be felt for so long. When we're old, it's going to come back to us. I'm grateful that my children know and have known since day one that I've been against these extreme measures. That I was, I think I was concerned for about a week and had the hand sanitizer and all that kind of stuff. But after I started reading up and learning and figuring things out and reading up on vitamin D and vitamin C and zinc and different things, I said, we've had all kinds of things forever and we never walked around afraid. We didn't walk around afraid in flu season. All that stuff. I just said, let's just be smart. Let's be cautious, keep our distance from people. Don't go out sick. Don't go near people who appear sick, but that doesn't mean treat them like they're diseased animals or something. Just, be smart until we know more. And I always took the approach that, well, we don't really know yet. We don't really know yet. This kind of, message to my children that we've gotten through worse. There have been things we've survived as a species, even as a country, and we'll be okay. And I kept saying that and saying that and saying that. And I'm getting to the point where I feel like I'm lying to them. Not about illness, but about the country. And now, of course, they know I'm making videos and all that, and they know we're not okay. And if okay is anything like the world they were born into in their mind, and I think it is, they were looking forward to growing up and having the same experiences and travel and moving about freely without having their papers checked and getting things injected into themselves that they didn't want or weren't sure about. If they were looking forward to that, which they were because they were all old enough to know what was going on, that's gone. And they feel helpless. And even though they're homeschooled, and even though that part of their life is taken care of, they wonder who will be their friends, how will the rest of their life go? It's a complete unknown. And yet there's this illusion as they look around that things look like they used to look, but they know instinctively they're not. So they have this very strange, surreal kind of anxiety. And I see it in her when she tries to drive. It's hard enough learning to drive. But her level of anxiety, her level of fear of other people is much higher than it's ever been. And I've heard from a lot of parents, their kids don't want to drive. They don't want to go out as much. My youngest doesn't. She's 13. She doesn't want to go out. So where am I going to go? I don't want to go. I don't want to wear a mask. If I go out, there are only so many places I want to be. I don't, want to deal with other people. She feels like everyone's looking at everybody and judging everybody, and that there isn't that sense of personal space anymore. They know because they've seen it with their own eyes. They've seen people suspiciously looking at other people over the tops of masks. They've seen and heard people yelling at other people because of wearing masks, not wearing masks. They've seen people stopped and asked if they've had the vaccine. They just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it. My eldest works, and she's worked for over a year, and she said yesterday, I don't want to deal with people today. I don't want to deal with people today because there are so many people coming through the drive-through who are just rude. They're just rude. They come through and they treat her and her coworkers like, it's their personal fault that the service is slow. They're so understaffed, they can't hire people. She's wearing a shirt every day that says we're hiring. They can't hire people. Small business owners are posting in next door, we're desperate. We're going to go out of business if we can't hire. We'll take anybody. Please, somebody come work for us or we're going to have to close. We're already having to close 1 day a week because we don't have enough staff and the staff we do have are overworked. And we can't pay them what they're worth at this point for doing all these jobs because we're not taking in enough money to pay them more. So it's not greed and they're already paying enormous sums per hour, $20 per hour for, even dishwashers. It's insane. And then for some reason, plenty of people still have enough money to go through the Chick-fil-A drive-through and demand to know why it's taking so long for their order or why they have to sit in line for so long or why they can only have one sauce packet because the supply truck hasn't come through because the company that makes the sauce packets is understaffed and so on and so on and so on. And because all these idiots sitting in their cars don't know how anything works because they were poorly educated, they yell at the person right in front of their face who's a 17-year-old kid being yelled at maybe by someone my age. Okay? People in their 30s, people in their 40s, people in their 50s. What's taking so long? How come I can only have one sauce packet? What is wrong with you? Blah, blah. Didn't you hear me? Blah, blah. Yes, I heard you as well as I could hear you through your mask in your car. And you obviously didn't hear me through my mask and all the noise of all these cars. I'm trying to be helpful and serve you politely, but you're being rude. This is what we're doing to our children. We are teaching them the world is a hostile, nasty, judgmental place they're not sure they want to grow up in. And when I say that, I mean, they're not sure they want to grow up. So is it any wonder that you see rises in kids who just are so uncomfortable in their own skin? They want to literally change who they are, if you get my drift. Or they develop eating disorders, or they start cutting themselves, or they go all the way. You almost can't blame them. They don't have the number of years under their belt of dealing with difficulties and getting through it that some of us who are older have. They don't have the perspective of the Carter years, for example, which I have. And even I am struggling. Even I see how much worse this is in so many ways. It's not worse yet in terms of the inflation. It's not worse yet in terms of things like gas shortages. But in terms of oppression, in terms of the meanness of our fellow human beings to each other, the dehumanization, and the ability to see it and read it 24/7, that's unprecedented, to use the overused word. So I guess this is my mother's plea to all of you out there, on whichever side of the fence you're sitting. Have a care for the children. Don't be so obsessed with protecting them and others from one particular harm, one particular form of harm that realistically, statistically, is not as likely to hurt them as you driving them to school in your car, or yelling at somebody who isn't doing what you want them to do, or sitting around and talking with your spouse or your friends about how, selfish other people are because they won't do things the way you want them to do. Or how your child really needs to make amends and apologize for things that people who look just like her or him did hundreds of years ago before they were born. Have a care. They're new here. We brought them here. We did that. We put them on this planet. They didn't choose that. We did that. We have a responsibility to raise them up strong and capable and hopeful. We need to give them opportunities to experience joy. How do you experience joy when you're so worried about everything all the time? When you're so mean and hateful to others right in front of them. My daughter told me some lady was yelling at her with a car full of kids. There are children watching. It's profane. the way adults are behaving. This is my plea. Please stop. Think before you speak. Think before you type. Think before you make short-term decisions that have long-term implications your children will be dealing with, but you won't. Imagine yourself sitting there as an old woman or an old man, looking them in the eye and explaining that you chose to give away their liberty. That it was really to protect them. You were protecting them from one thing. And as such, they're now limited in everything. And everything is a danger. Please think about it.